of rural population of Assam and, of course, our neighboring state of Arunachal Pradesh. So this particular webinar is designed to address and to meet the challenges posed by African swine fever. Human resilience and human perseverance has overcome all odds in earlier also, and I believe that we will overcome this problem also. So this particular webinar design, as I've already said, to address the problem and to meet the challenges of African swine fever. So today we have with us our former Vice Chancellor, an eminent agricultural scientist, Dr. K.M. Bhujobar sir, who has spared his time to be with us. Sir, I welcome you on behalf of the Institute. We'll be joined very soon by the Minister of Agriculture and Veterinary, Srijut Otulbora sir. He's on his way and he'll be joining us very soon. We have also with us the Vice Chancellor of Assam Agricultural University, Dr. Ashok Bhattacharya sir, who will be joining us online through Google Meet. We also have with us the Commissioner of Assam, Finance and Animal Husbandry and Veterinary, Mr. Shyam Jagannathan, who will be joining us again through Google Meet. We also have Dr. Swaraj Rajkhwa, who will be joining us to Google Meet and also will be presenting later on. We have with us Dr. B.N. Saikia, the Dean, Faculty of Veterinary Science, the Director Research, Dr. Niranjan Kolita, Veterinary Assam. We have the Associate Director of Extension Education, Dr. Otul Borgohain amongst us, and a plethora of scientists and specialists in the field of animal husbandry and veterinary. So we'll be starting this seminar very soon. So I would like to request the Dean College of Veterinary Science to come and deliver the welcome address. Please, sir.
So good morning to everyone. Most respected Dr. K.M. Bhujobar sir, all of you know that our former Vice Chancellor and pioneer of agriculture and veterinary research in the country, and also he is known internationally. Dr. Dilip Kumar Sharma, Professor and Head Department of Microbiology, who delivered a lead talk. Dr. Nagendranath Burman, Professor of Microbiology, who delivered a lead talk. Dr. Niranjan Kolita, Director of Research, Assam Agricultural University, Khanapara. Dr. Otul Borgohain, Associate Director of Extension Education, Assam Agricultural University, Khanapara. Dr. B.K. Sharma, Joint Registrar, Assam Agricultural University, Khanapara. Professor Dr. Kutubuddin Ahmed and Head ARGO, Head Animal Nutrition. Scientist, All India Coordinated Research Project, Chief Principal Scientist Dr. Dhireswar Kolita, and Srijut Shyam Jagannathan, who is joining online in this seminar. Dr. Swaraj Rajkhwa, who is also joining this seminar online. Our Vice Chancellor, Dr. Ashok Bhattacharya, is joining online from Jorhat, and many of the scientists and teachers participating in this seminar online. Sir, as African swine fever, its socio-economic aspect, this webinar is organized because the risk occurred or appeared in the country and especially in Assam. So this African swine fever has not only impact on socio-economic aspect also, but it has tremendous effect on the livelihood of our rural people. Since it is an exotic disease and people from this part of the region and pig farmers from this part of the region are experiencing the havoc or experiencing the effect of this disease, that is why we thought that why we should not go for organizing a webinar on this African swine fever, how to mitigate and how to get rid of this disease. So this webinar is organized. So I won't take much of time before going to this actual technical program. I welcome our honorable former Vice Chancellor Dr. Kamal Malla Bujarbura sir, who has kindly accepted our invitation to be here to grace this occasion and also to offer his concluding remark, overall remark on this seminar. We have invited our Honorable Minister, Sri Ratul Boradi, but he has given consent to come, but he is preoccupied. If he arrives, then we'll, in between, we'll welcome him. I welcome all others, those who are here. Mostly I welcome the Dr. Ashok Kumar Bhattacharya, Vice Chancellor of Assam Agricultural University, who joined online. Srijut Shyam Jagannathan, Commissioner, Animal Husbandry and Veterinary and Finance, Assam Government, and Dr. Swaraj Rajpal, Director NRC on PEAK, on online who are joining. I welcome all the participating online participants, those who have joined this seminar, this webinar. I hope that this webinar will give a roadmap for the eradication of this exotic disease from this part of the country, because we have 21 lakhs big population, and our people of those in the northern region of the country, in this part, around 38% population of the country's pig population is here. Pig is our livelihood. Pork is a delicious meat for all of us. So with these few words, that this exotic disease, how we can go to mitigate or how we can overcome from this part of the country. Already government has taken some of the steps to remove or to eradicate this disease from this part of the country. With these few words, I welcome you all to this seminar. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. So it is noteworthy to inform you that already more than 120 people have signed in this webinar, and we're expecting more because already we are getting inputs. There are more than 300 people who are interested to join this webinar. So now I would like to request our Dean, College of Veterinary Science, Assam Agricultural University, Dr. B.N. Saikia, to kindly felicitate our honorable guest of today's function, Dr. K.M. Bujarbura, sir. Please. So, thank you, sir. May I request our former Vice Chancellor, Dr. K.M. Bujarbura, sir, kindly to give the opening remarks in this meeting.
Very warm morning to all of you, Dean and all others present here, and those who are joining online on this very important webinar being arranged by College of Veterinary Science. Well, I'll not take much time because webinar meeting are supposed to be finished in a fixed time. Actually, see, this is so very important a topic, the socio-economic impact of African swine fever, particularly in the state of Assam and Arunachal Pradesh. Of course, the disease spread in Assam is much more than Arunachal Pradesh. Initial report was there from Arunachal Pradesh, but somehow subsequently, Assam state has been, attacked so very badly by this African swine fever disease. Now, it is such a disease, we do not have a vaccine readily available, we do not have treatments. The disease spreads through aerosol, means it also spreads through contacts, it spreads through mites, through lights, it spreads through the, all the defecation, etc. materials. It can also spread through the meat if it is half cooked. All those things. It is so very dangerous a disease that it can go from one to the other. So the management is the only thing to contain this disease. Management together with, of course, the stamping operation. since there is no vaccine and all other things, the infected animals are to be killed. Unfortunately, the people here had thrown the dead carcasses in the river, which is stated to be one of the reasons for its widespread this thing. Now, therefore, everybody has to understand that this disease has to be contained within the premises where it has been noticed. Everybody has to play their role, right from the farmer and the veterinary department and other officials attending to this disease outbreak. Unless that is done, it will keep on spreading. Now also it is little bit subsided, but it's not over. It is there everywhere. Now, unless we take full precaution, it might touch all other pigs which haven't been touched so far. So that is a very important thing. What is happening for stumping operation? Many farmers are little reluctant because they are not getting the amount supposed to be paid for slaughtering or killing the pig. As you would see, in case of avian influenza also, money used to be paid for each bird slaughtered. It was paid judiciously. Why? Because it was a zoonotic disease, because it might spread to human beings. So it was taken very seriously. But here, African swine fever, because it is not a zoonotic disease, that much seriousness is not seen. But the thing is, if it is left this way, then all pig farmers will suffer. All pig farmers, not only now it is in the state of Assam, but it might also spread to Meghalaya and other neighboring states. It is our responsibility to contain it here. How best those management, the economic impact, our Dr. Sharma will be telling you what has been the economic impact thus far. It is clearly an understandable thing that if a pig weighing around 100 kg dies, on an average, say 100 rupees per kg, you can imagine almost 10,000 rupees a pig. Now that a farmer, if 2 pigs died, he suffers from 20,000 loss. A farmer, pig farmer particularly, cannot definitely afford to have that loss. That's why he depends on the government for support. I hope government will come up. If they have not come up fully, they should come up to compensate against the killing of the infected pigs. Then only it will. Meanwhile, I think the scientists, the veterinary college, together with the support from Government of India, must be trying to meanwhile see whether a vaccine could be developed. Because it was not there earlier. African swine fever disease was not reported that often in India. Now it has been reported, it has been diagnosed that it is African swine fever. We have also to see whether we can actually take our research to develop a vaccine. That has to be seen, or else it might be coming off and on. So we have to have an answer for this. I hope this webinar will definitely give you a glimpse as to what has been the impact, rightly, if we go by the title of the webinar. And after that, the doable things on the part of the development department, veterinary department, on the part of the university, on the part of the pig growers. Everything has been so nicely streamlined that everybody plays their role to contain this disease where it is. Thank you. Looking forward to a very good interaction.
Thank you, sir, for your inputs. I will be eagerly waiting for your concluding remarks. So next we have who has joined us as our Vice Chancellor of the Assam Agricultural University, Dr. Ashok Bhattacharya, sir. So may I request our Vice Chancellor to say a few words. Sir, kindly unmute your phone so we can hear you.
So very good morning to
our Vice Chancellor, Dr. Ashok Bhattacharya, sir, to kindly unmute your phone and please deliver your talk, sir. Please.
A very good morning to all the participants. My special welcome to Honorable Minister Agriculture and Veterinary, who is on the way, as I understand, and our most beloved former Vice Chancellor, Bujor Boro, sir. Then all the statutory officers from Assam Agricultural University, the Director NRCP, Commissioner Veterinary and Finance, Mr. Jagannathan. I understand Manoj Basumatari, an entrepreneur from Assam, has also joined in this souvenir, and all the distinguished participants. First of all, let me congratulate the College of Veterinary Science for such type of an event, which has been scheduled very timely. And of course, under the leadership of Dr. Viveka Saikia, Dr. Nirjan Kalita, Dr. Dilip Sharma, and all others, I think they deserve a hearty congratulations for organizing this.
May I intervene? Sir, your phone, it seems to be in mute mode. So may I request you to unmute it?
Is it audible? Is it audible? Hello? Is it audible?
Yes, sir, it's audible, sir.
Okay. Okay. So as mentioned, the pig sector in the country as a whole plays a very crucial role for livelihood, nutritional and financial security for the rural mass of northeastern states. And almost 40% of the pigs of the country we see in the northeastern states of India. So the recent outbreaks of African swine fever have affected the pig farmers of the state very heavily. And the porous international borders and the illegal trading of pigs from neighboring countries like Myanmar and all other neighboring countries, it has been projected that the whole northeastern states has been projected as very vulnerable for any sort of exotic diseases. So strict vigilance of the international borders to prevent the illegal trading of pigs is really very, very essential. And currently, there is no treatment and vaccines for the African swine fever, as mentioned. So improved biosecurity together with rapid detection, restriction of movement of animals, the slaughter and proper disposal of infected pigs are really very important preventive measures. To protect the growing pig sector in the northeastern states in India, there is urgent need of preparedness so that the disease can be diagnosed and contained at the earliest. The capacity building and strengthening of veterinary services of the state needs special attention for large-scale surveillance and laboratory diagnosis. So besides, farmers and pig producers are to be educated about the disease and improved biosecurity management systems or measures. At the same time, we should not ignore the big issues of bioterrorism, whether it is in the plant sector or whether it is in the animal sector. So this quarantine protocols in the country as a whole, I should say, really not that fine, and it is really poor. And since a number of foreign countries are surrounded in the northeast, so somewhere we should see this issue in a very intense manner. And the upgradation of the existing facilities, for example, so we have the vaccine facilities for classical swine flu fever in our College of Veterinary Sciences. But how to upgrade it? So I'd like to draw the kind attention of the veterinary department and Honorable Minister. So I think we are in a position to be self-sufficient in at least on the particular sector. And I think we're going to submit a detailed project proposal for this purpose also. And another sector may be to get rid of the diseases which have been transmitted through processed products. So in that situation, we do not have much slaughterhouses in the country as a whole. So this is another sector where I think we should put our efforts very, concerted efforts, of course, in a very intense manner. So this College of Veterinary Science, Assam Agricultural University, organized this webinar on a very important topic, and I'm sure that the technical presentation will be useful, and I wish a grand success of the webinar. Thank you very much. It's over to Peter Mohan.
Thank you, sir. So next we have the presentation by Dr. Dilip Kumar Sharma, Professor and Head, Department of Microbiology, College of Veterinary Science. It's worth to mention that Dr. Dilip Kumar Sharma was the former director of National Research Center on Pigs, ICR. Sir, please.
Yeah, very good morning. Honorable former Vice Chancellor of the Assam Agricultural University, Dr. Bujagura sir, Dean Faculty of Veterinary Science, Director of Research Veterinary, other statutory officers, my colleagues. At the outset, I extend my thanks and gratitude to the organizer for giving me an opportunity to speak about African swine fever. I have been assigned to talk on the epidemiological aspects of the African swine fever. My colleague, Dr. Bormon, will be talking about the socio-economic aspects. Since many people, particularly farmers, are not much aware about the disease, so my presentation is not very scientific. I am preparing in a very simple way so that the target groups can understand about the African swine fever and how to contain with the little biosecurity measures. The biosecurity aspects also will be dealt by Dr. Bormon in depth. So I will not discuss details about the biosecurity. So my presentation will be mostly on the epidemiological. All we know that African swine fever is a very contagious disease which affect both domestic and the wild pigs. This is not a zoonotic disease. Many people confuse about with the swine flu. This is not a swine flu. This is not a classical swine fever. So this is the African swine fever, which was confined to African countries in the several decades. But very suddenly, in the last 2 years, this has entered to the Southeast Asia, which has have a tremendous impact on the pig production, because about 60% of the global pigs are in the Southeast Asia. So it has been devastated by the occurrence of the African swine fever in the Southeast Asia. And very recently, disease has entered to our country for the first time. And this is being an exotic disease. We need to have a larger preparedness, and at the earliest, how we can contain, otherwise the disease will become an endemic situation. And in that case, it will be very difficult to contain it. This is just a fundamental difference about the African swine fever, classical swine fever, and the swine flu. So one is the DNA virus. African swine fever is a DNA virus, and is much larger in size, about 200 nanometer, which affect only pigs. There is no communicability to human beings. Classical swine fever is also a disease which also affect only pigs, no communicable to human beings. Whereas swine flu, not I am talking about the swine flu of human beings, swine flu which particularly affect the pigs, sometimes communicable to the human beings. So that's is a different disease. African swine fever is exclusively a different disease. So I will be discussing about on this. But this is a DNA virus. This is a little bit of structures of the DNA virus. Some of the faculty members or students, those who are involved, they can see the outer envelope, capsid, inner envelope, matrix, nucleus, and genomic DNA. It's a DNA virus and a very large virus. So it is phylogenetically, this virus is totally different. It is not identical with the classical swine fever. Swine flu is a totally different virus. It's linked to pox virus to some extent, iridovirus to some extent, and aspergillosis to some extent. And it is only virus, DNA virus, which is transmitted by the vectors. So this is the very significance of the vector transmission of this disease. So these are the susceptible hosts, the domestic pigs, the wild pigs, both wild hogs. Okay. The domestic. Okay, fine. This is the domestic pig and wild hogs. So why it is confined to African swine fever? Because it's mostly wild hogs, like forestry. Their burrow is one of the important reservoir of the pigs. And this is the ornithodoros of pigs, which plays a very important role in the transmission of this disease. We are for factors mostly because in the African and some European countries, and this plays a very important role because virus can multiply in the vectors, and also it can transovarially, it can go to its progeny, and it can, when it bites the domestic pigs or the wild pigs, then it virus transmits. This is a cycle how the virus transmits. There is a vedic cycle which is mostly confined in the wild pigs and the ticks, the ornithodoros ticks, biting of the ornithodoros ticks to the wild hogs, to the juvenile wild hogs, and again it is spinning. Then these ticks to pigs also possible, from pigs to if it bites domestic pigs. But we are most concerned with the domestic cycle. So domestic pig cycle, because this is now is occurring in the Southeast Asia, and this has a tremendous importance to understand the epidemiology of this domestic cycle, how the disease is transmitting, because we have no surveillance on the prevalence of the ornithodoros ticks in the Southeast Asia. Unless we detect this, the ornithodoros, we cannot say whether the ticks is playing an important role. Of course, we have a large. So these are how the virus spread. These are from ways. One is ornithodoros host, direct contact with infected feed, feeding of uncooked, undercooked form, then contaminated feed, and indirectly through fomites. This is also very important, like visitors to schools, farm utensils, and vehicles. Then this is present in the saliva, urine, feces, blood, and semen of infected pigs. Then apart from direct contact with infected pigs, contaminated feed can spread the virus. Then infected pig carcass plays a very important source in the spread of the disease, because improper disposal of the carcass, and if it's eaten by the scavenging pigs, they will be infected. Then this persists in several months in the frozen form, or even in the head, skin of pigs, infected pigs. Then feeding of uncooked items like pork, fat, or skin. Then feeding of contaminated feed and water. Then feeding of uncooked offals and waste that can spread infection. Then this is a wild boar to pig Is okay? Okay.
Yes, sir, it's okay now.
Let's just see how drastically is coming down the global pig productions. See, in 2018 there was 781 million pigs. 781 global pigs has come down to 677 millions. So 100 million pigs is depleted because of the occurrence of these large number of infectious diseases, one of the main cause. See, you can see the top pig producing countries. The China is itself is responsible for production of almost 50% of the global pigs. Of course, we have very, very little share in the production of pigs, but it is an upcoming sector and it is related to the livelihood and nutritional security of the poor peoples. So we cannot ignore the pig productions, even in the rural farmers of India or in the other South Asian countries, which are also dependent on these pig productions. So you can see roughly 60% of the pork is produced by the Southeast Asian. And because of the African swine fever in the last 2 years, it has significantly impacted the pork productions for the entire globes. You can see the density of the pigs, domestic pigs. This is mostly in the Southeast Asian countries. This is a high density of pigs. Over 60% of the domestic pigs are located in these regions. So this is the highly susceptible population, and that there is a every chance for infection. The wild pig population is also there in this here in the Southeast Asian, of course, in Africa as well as in the South America and in some European countries. Then this is the chronology of ASF outbreak. First reported in the Kenya in 1921. That was started. Then it was not known where the disease has entered. Subsequently, it has entered to Portugal. Then Portugal source was mainly pork and pork products from Africa. Then pork and pork products was the potential source for transmission of the disease from different countries. Of course, in Russia and Poland, it is the wild boar. Then in 2019 and 2080, also in China, when it started, it is the pork and pork products. Then in 19, subsequently in Mongolia, Vietnam, South Korea, and in India, we suspected to be a dead carcass, but it is not known actual potential, which was the origin of the source of infection. Then in the chronology of ASF outbreak in Asia, you can see within almost 2 years, the entire Asia has been spreaded by this disease. Started in 3rd August in China, then spread to Mongolia, Vietnam, Cambodia, and Timor-Leste, and subsequently in February, maybe in the early part in Arunachal Pradesh, although we are not knowing. But see, because of that African swine fever, more than 3.7 million pigs were killed or died because of the disease. This is an approximate figure given by the FAO. In India also, exact figure is not known, although thousands of pigs were died because of the disease. This is spread from the Africa to Portugal, then Africa to Portugal, and then from South America to other European countries, and then from European countries it has spread to Russia, and from Russia to China, and then from China it has spread to Myanmar, and from Myanmar we think that from Myanmar the disease has entered to our northeastern states. Although it has been reported, see the large number of outbreaks occurred in 2019. In Europe, there are 13 countries were affected, and in Asia, more than 10 countries were affected because of this African swine fever. This is also an ASF outbreak in 2018. There was a large number of outbreaks in China, Belgium, Hungary, and all other places. So this was also status. Then in May 2019, it was mostly in the China or in the other neighboring countries. But in 2020 May, it is the position. Now it has been reflected in the Assam and Arunachal Pradesh. It has been reflected, and also in Myanmar there are outbreaks, and also continuing outbreaks in the China. You can see the clusters of outbreaks in Assam. In mostly there are 9 districts initially. Now it has spreaded to few more districts. It was started in Arunachal Pradesh. Then from Arunachal Pradesh it has entered to the Dhemaji, and then subsequently it entered to most probably the neighboring districts. And it is very interesting to know that, because it was possible that from Arunachal to this, but how it has spread to Kamrup district, it is to be understood that how it may be possibly because of the fomites or animal carrying vehicles. This may be the source of infections here. So this very resistant virus, the virus is highly resistant to the environment. It can withstand high temperature, and high pH is it can be inactivated only by 3.9 acidic pH or by above 11.5 alkaline pH. Then lot of many chemicals, of course, is also very important to identify which will be the very effective. Then the survival remains in the blood, feces, tissues, and uncooked food for a long period of time. This is the important trait of African swine fever is the contagiosity, because it is not like a wildfire. It is not spread like a wildfire like foot and mouth disease or like classical swine fever. It is a slow spreading disease, though it is contagious, but aerosol transmission is very less as compared to foot and mouth disease. So that is why all population may not be affected at a very early stage. So here is easy possibility for eradications if we can identify the epicenter, and from that epicenter if we can identify zoning, and then if you can do the infected cullings, then the disease can be completely eradicated. There is a possibility for that. The tenacity is there only. This is the important aspects. High persistence in the environment. This is most important factors. How to destroy the virus in the infected premises. That is important. And the high case fatality is a concern. This is how the virus can enter. It can directly enter by tick bite. It may be mostly it is in Africa, but in India we do not know the prevalence of the Ornithodoros pigs. That is essential to understand. Then the orally directly infected pigs consumptions, or by the products, or by nasally, by direct contact, by inhalation of the droplets. And because it is very large virus, droplets the drops directly into the bottom or the environment, so it will not persist in the atmosphere for a long period of time. Then by breeding of inseminated contaminated semen or direct breeding. Then the morbidity is very concerned, because 100% morbidity will be there. There will be a chronic stage and the acute or peracute stage where the mortality will be very high. And there is 100 number of, so far we have 24 genotypes of these classical African swine fever. This is the biggest hurdle to coming up for a vaccines. One genotypes, the genotypes varies. There are genotypes mostly confined in African, and in Europe and in China it is the genotype 2. And we Assam or the Arunachal, which genotypes is coming up, that is also need to be studied. Then only we can understand the epidemiology of the disease in true sense. Then the clinical disease, this is the 5 to 21 days, the incubation period. So sometimes it may occur within 5 days, sometimes it may 21 days. Then these are the different acute or acute form of disease. Then these are the clinical symptoms. It's a very high hemorrhagic disease. So this is a very characteristics. This is sometimes confused with some many classical swine fever, or with PRRS, or with pseudorabies. It is very characteristic because the mortality will be very high here. So I'm just rapidly going. So these are some of the clinical manifestations. Post-mortem lesions and other things I am not going must. These are also gross lesions. These typical lesions in the spleen and the lymph node and in the kidney. This is also present in the as classical swine fever. So post-mortem lesions sometimes may be confused. The diagnosis is a very critical stage, because in the field we may often confuse with classical swine fever. We may confuse with acute PRRS, with porcine dermatitis, erysipelas, salmonellosis. So that's very, very important. So we need to have a large number of diagnostic tools in true sense. But being an exotic disease, we cannot handle the live virus in our premises. So we have other protocols for diagnosis, the conventional PCR techniques or by real-time PCR techniques, the disease can be diagnosed, or the Bhopal laboratory, that's it, National Institute of High Security Animal Disease Laboratory, they can go for the isolation of the virus, which is the gold standard technique. And once one can isolate the virus, this is the heme adsorption tool is there, and by which it can be immediately diagnosed. There are a lot of serological techniques by which we can go for detection in the second phase. At the initial phase, we go for the detection of the viral DNA or the antigens, and the second phase, we can go for the antibody detections. Then these are large number of commercially available kits are available, out of which most of the commercial are from Spain. So this we also need to have an indigenous side diagnostic kits so that we can go for a large scale surveillance both for antigen and antibody. Because PCR is not a very large scale surveillance tool. We cannot go for large scale screening. We need the like ELISA based techniques which can handle large number of large number of samples at a time. So ELISA based antigen, ELISA based antibody detection, which can be developed indigenously, that is the essential need. Then this type of technique is very, very useful. Farmers can immediately diagnose this. A differentiation of African swine fever and classical swine fever. This lateral flow or a duplex lateral flow assay is also need of the hour for development indigenously. Then the isolation, already I told, isolation is one of the critical stage, because very, very difficult to isolate in the conventional cell lines. There is only leukocytes or macrophage cultures of the porcine, that is only for primary cultures, then isolation of the virus, and subsequently once it adapted in the primary culture, then it can be transferred to the cell line. There is no good cell line also so far. Only African green monkey cell lines are available, and these African green monkey cell lines are now useful is this COS1 cell line or the Vero cell line or a monkey stable cell lines, which can be used, and we can explore the possibility of adapting the virus in these cell lines. And if we are successful in adapting the virus in these cell lines, then the success of vaccine production is also easy. Then antigen detection techniques, there are a number of antigen detection techniques, in-house based ELISA which can be developed, and I insist the government of India or in Assam to support for antigen based development kits. Then antibody detection kits, which is very, very useful at the later stage. We will understand how long the disease is persisting or whether animal is developing some antibody after the infection. That also we can understand after the antibody detection test. Then the prevention and control is the only way, because there is no vaccines, there is no treatment. So we have to go for a prevention by other way. So prevention is only way by the biosecurity. Strict biosecurity is the only way by which we can limit the infections, or we can prevent the spread from an infected one to a neighboring one. Then there are movement restriction of pigs and pork from the infected areas. Then we must protect the domestic pigs in contact from the wild pigs. We have large number of wild pigs also, particularly in the sanctuary. There may be in contact with the wild pigs, with the domestic pigs. So that is restricted to be restricted as far as possible. So rapid diagnosis is important. Then with the virus source, we must identify. Then only we can stop the entry. Then the infected zones we need to identify. Then culling of the infected pigs. Then these are the OI protocols for the biosecurity, with very simple biosecurity measures which can be adopted by the farmers level also. That secure farm entrance, we maintain a robust perimeters. A very perimeters is required. All in-house rearing is to be encouraged, because the scavenging pigs are the main source for transmission of this virus. So in-house rearing is important. Then strict control of the staff and visitors to the farm premises, and the control of pigs, the movement of the pigs, and the quarantine of the newly imported pigs, And within 1 month, if we can strictly control in that area and completely cull and disinfect it, then reintroductions can be made after 1 month. These are some of the effective chemical agents which can be used, which are cheap and farmers can easily adopt. One is a lime. 1% lime is useful, but it should be for a 30 minutes period of time. Then sodium hydroxide, calcium hypochlorite, formalin, which can be used for fumigation. Then phenol or quarant ammonium, which also can be used for the fumigation purposes. And then Virkon, which is commercially available as a virucidal substance, that can be also used. Then the few measures to prevent the spread. One is restriction of the movement, already I have mentioned. Restricting the entry of pigs from the neighboring states and country. We do not know the status in the neighboring states. So therefore, it is essential as a collective effort to understand the epidemiology as well as to see the incidence of the disease in the neighboring states. Then only we can, I think, will be success in the control or prevention of the disease. Then this is also we must encourage. Then proper disposal of the dead carcass is one of the main important aspects. Farmers are not aware about this, and this is very, very essential to be disposed in a proper way by deep burial and not disposing by throwing into the river. Then the actions to be taken in increasing awareness is important. Many people are still not aware about the magnitude of the disease, how it is devastating, how it can spread, then what biosecurity measures is required to be adopted. So if we can educate these farmers, that it can be contained in a shortened period of time. Then we need to educate the butchers as well as other farm stakeholders, including buyers. Then we need to strengthen the veterinary services, particularly on the disease reporting, on the early diagnosis, surveillance, and in management. Disease management part is also essential. Sir has also mentioned that management part also we must understand how effectively we can manage the animals. And then compensation also should be there. Without proper compensation, many farmers may not agree to cull their animals. Then incentive to the voluntary report of the disease is also important. Then the epidemiology is a very, very essential thing. Then only we can eliminate the infections. The epidemiology involve the source of infections, then identify the vectors, particularly the tick vectors, then other reservoir host by the wild boars, then the virus genotypes, and the other aspects. So it's a very, very, because 15 minutes time I have been given, so I am cutting short. Dr. Burman is waiting. So he will be delivering is the next aspect on the socio-economic assessment, which is very, very essential and is the theme of this topic. So this is a very, very complex disease, has a very complex epidemiology. There is no antiviral drugs, no vaccines. So you have to contain the disease by educating the farmers, by applying strict biosecurity measures, by using or culling of the infected animals, and by proper disposal of the infected or dead pigs. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir, for your wonderful presentation. May I request our Director Research Veterinary to kindly felicitate our speaker with a Kulam Gamusa.
Oh.
So next speaker online, we have Dr. Nagendra Nath Burman, Professor, Department of Microbiology. Dr. Burman is an eminent microbiologist of international stature. Sir, please, Dr. Burman.
Thank you for the organizer giving me the opportunity to share my some collections on this African swine fever and its socio-economic impact and how we can mitigate this dreaded disease. The dignitaries present here
and all the participants who joined online. I'm really thankful, and I'll try to explain my presentation. So that topic assigned me as socio-economic impact of African swine fever outbreak and how to prevent entry of African swine fever virus in my pig farm. So this African swine fever, about its severity and uh, all the disease aspect, epidemiology, diagnosis, Sharma sir has elaborated in brief nicely. So I try to focus on this role of pigs in our socio-economic status and the biosecurity aspect. So the pig has a different position in the society. The way we present the pig, if we focus pig as a the source of livelihood, so it is wonderful species. And in fact, in Germany, people say pig means luck, Glück. So ich habe Swine means I will have a luck, good luck. And otherwise, also in other situation, pig will be presented as the worst. It is a slacked. Sie bin slacked. Swine means slack, worst. So that way, also in our society, I find pig has the different position. But overall, scientists, what they say, pigs are highly intelligent, super smart, and can remember everything. Pigs are playful, pigs are highly social, pigs are good mother, and pig shows the compassion and forgiveness. And above all, they are the voracious eater. So these are the observation of scientists. Looking into that, in our society, tribal society in the entire northeastern region. So we accustomed with this pig rearing right from the time immemorial, and it is part of our culture. In the tribal society, the mother-in-law, daughter-in-law, and daughters, they will distribute their pig numbers, and everyone will be involved in rearing the pig. So that way, particularly, this is the unique feature that women focus in that pig rearing system. And that way, women was empowered with the financially, which giving a good, stable family, and women will also take their position in the society. Realizing that probably in this, the present government also encourage Madam Nirmala Sitharajan to be the finance minister. So anyhow, this pig rearing is part of our culture. So that culture, when we see, and northeastern region also that way taking the first position in terms of pig population, that is around that northeastern region having a 42.41 lakh population out of 90.6 lakh all India population in 2000 century, that is census 2019, and Assam having a 20.99 lakhs, probably that is the first position in the pig rearing states, and it has a positive impact. In majority states now pig population is going down. So if you look into the pig breed varieties, so about, this is the old data, still then it is giving a picture, 78% pigs are the doom variety, local variety. And only 12 or that is 22 or 23% the exotic variety. But that opportunity is there. Crossbreeding should be there so that we can upgrade the production level. And looking into the, sorry. Looking into that meat availability, this is all data, 16, 17 data.
availability total meat 47,000 ton, but demand is 3,63,000 ton, but shortfall is very huge, 3,16,000 ton. And in 18-19 data, meat availability 50,400, and pork contributing in 18-19 data, that is 19,400, that is nearly 39% in the total meat availability. So it has a great role to give the boost to the meat industry. Otherwise, this the huge demand of the northeastern region, there is the great shortfall of this meat availability in this region. So that area, it is looking by the other states. I think probably Punjab is not the meat eater, pork eater, but they are producing in the large scale. So this opportunity we should take. Government should also think about post COVID the engagement. They are talking about that the engagement of this the migrant in this post COVID episode. So this will be the another opportunity in this pig rearing area. Easily they can engage the people here. So in the socio-economic status, if you see, that is the unique the living creature is a less mobile, self-sufficient. They can generate everything of their own, well-adapted, best feed converter, highly prolific, and landless and marginal farmer can easily go for the pig rearing, and pork provide the high-value animal protein. Easily it can be dressed, cured, and preserved for long period. And pig farming having a very good linkage with the other, you can easily diversify. This is a very popular, I think, pig and fishery is a very popular combination. Above that, the horticulture using and food processing industry with the pork. Then many components of the cosmetic can be derived from the pig products, and renewable energy can also be generated. Some examples, sir. Yes, sir. So these are the things, but because of the production system, when we see totally in the unconventional system, and every family having 2 to 3 pigs, or semi-commercial having the 10 average pig, and this is the pig rearing system. And if we come to the economic, so if we see in the backyard commercial farm, that is rearing mostly the crossbred pigs, so that will generate after 8 months about 5,800 per pig. So again, in the backyard, this is scavenging system. One farmer can generate from 1 pig 2,600. This data shortly we collected to this Northeast Pig Progressive Pig Production Farmers Association. We collected the data, and because of this African swine fever outbreak, so there is the loss, because per farmer having around 3 average the backyard farming system, 3 pigs, so that loss will come around the 8,000, and in semi-commercial it will go around 5,80,000 during that period. Above that, during this survey, it was shown that this COVID also caused loss of around 7,000 per breedable animal. So this will give a great impact, bad impact on the disruption of the livelihood in the low and medium income family, drop in the daily expenses, they cannot pay the school fees or medical treatment. There will be a debt trap and chronic poverty, and all family and cultural function will also be disturbed, because many times by selling a pig, they will celebrate their marriage function or other function. Small pig holders may abandon the pig production because of this high mortality of this African swine fever and the cost involvement for the biosecurity management. So people, they will try to avoid this thing. And above all, this pig industry will have the good linkage with the pharmaceutical, feed industry, agriculture, trade, and these things, if we see, so that way it will give a impact in the pig industry. And above all, our some endangered species, this pygmy hog and doom variety, will be more or less wiped out because of this African swine fever, the outbreak. So these things, if we do not address properly, particularly with this, since there is no any treatment, vaccine, biosecurity will be the only option. So this biosecurity should be the set of this management and physical measure. These two components should go together. So there should be a good management and should be a very strong and scientifically designed physical facilities. And to adopt this biosecurity measure, the hazard identification will be the important. We must make some hypothesis how this is coming, what are the components associated. That should be analyzed properly, risk assessment, and based on the risk assessment, we should address how to manage those risks. So that things, if we go see the involvement in the input for the pig rearing will be the feed traders, then pig breeders, pig health supplier, then service provider, meat inspector, and creditors. So they will involve directly or indirectly in the pig farming. So their hygiene or all these things we must ascertain. At the same time, production level in the low, small farrowing to finishing farm, medium scale farm, large scale farm, and large integrated farm. How they constructed all the farm premises and their other things. Again, that collection, transportation, in the slaughter, these are another important point. In our state, we do not have the organized slaughter point or slaughterhouse. Then meat processing industry, then butcher, all these things together in the restaurant, and all this will finally come to the waste disposal. How best we are disposing this waste. All together, if we see, these are a lot of points to be considered for mitigating or adopting these biosecurity measures. So in the production system, if we see totally leakage of the biosecurity, not adopting, particularly swill feeding and rearing of the piglet from the unknown sources, from the market, origin we do not know. So these are giving a lot of opportunities for entering the virus, that the slaughterhouse, see this is the unorganized totally, whether disease pig or healthy pigs, together they will slaughter, and that things will be carried to the farmers, to their home, and washing will be again disposed or provided to the pigs. So these are the lot of leakage we have seen. And the study we carried out about this biosecurity measured in our system, we have seen that there is no trading registration, limited only. Some 100 organized farmers we have seen, large scale farmers, they will go for registration. Water origin, there is no hygiene. Then feeding practices, totally household waste, hotel waste only. Health services, they do not go to the doctor. Then boar, any one boar will provided to the all farms, so that will move from one place to another. And origin of the purchase stock, then categorization of pig purchase, all these things. Disinfection, if we see, there is only certain semi-commercial farm and organized farm, they are maintaining their disinfection, but other farms, they do not adopt, but they do not, even they are not aware. And the fencing, which is a prerequisite for biosecurity measure. So very limited, the farmers only adopt. And these are some data we collected about the production system, and almost all the farmers, they located near to the major road, river, forest, and in the African swine fever outbreak also, what we have seen, along with the river route, along with the forest area, outbreaks are there. Because many times the farmers, once animal will die, they will throw in the river, and that will go and that will accumulate near the river bank, and this scavenging pig, they will pick up those things, and that will lead to the entry of the virus in the forest. There are certain clues already, so it is reaching to the forest. So these are the lapses in our management system we should address. If you see overall how the risk of introduction of African swine fever virus to the pig farmers, these are all these the things what we have already discussed. This point we should address for providing the biosecurity measure. So in the biosecurity measure, analysis is the important. What we have seen, the ingestion part, the uncooked, the offals or the swill, then biological factor in the African swine fever, that is the pig factor. But so far in the Asia, we do not have the report that pigs are available. So that way, but investigation should be continued. And the fomite, we ignore many times the vehicle, shoes, clothing. So that thing we should concentrate now. And COVID teaching us lot of things, how to mitigate the hygiene measure. So that things 100% we can apply for this African swine fever, mechanical vector. So this Masca domestica, mechanically they can transmit. And our doctor, this is very, very important. Doctor, the needle, if you do not use the disposable needle, so that will transmit the virus from one animal to another animal. So this the thing we have seen in the classical swine fever as well as the African swine fever in our locality, the migratory animal, piglets, then fomites, the shoes, car, and the farm utensil, human, and the waste feeding, and the pork and pork products. So these are the major things we have seen. To mitigate this, the entry, how to stop the entry of the African swine fever in our farm. So we must follow this principle, three principles: segregation, cleaning, and disinfection. So segregation means we should segregate the healthy pig from the infected pig, putting different physical barrier. Then we can, for that we have to construct the fence. In the organized part, there should be a double layer fence. Unorganized farm, at least whatever the scavenging pigs are there, government of Assam already declared it will be the illegal. They cannot keep the pig in the free ranging system. So that also again supported with the providing a house to the pig. So that will be, I think, the good approach with the they will approach providing a house for the pig or the community hall. That way, I think if we can bring all the free moving animal to confinement, it will not only check the African swine fever entry, many other infectious diseases. So that should be the right approach. If they want to go, they should provide like the Indira Abak Yojana. So pig Abak Yojana should also start here to make the industry more viable and safe. And then restriction access with the visitors should not be allowed every time, and the sharing of the tools. So these things, if they will maintain all these shower in, shower out, then vehicle disinfection, the shoe, many times simple putting the shoes in the formaldehyde or the potash permanganate is not sufficient. Many organic things carried bottom of this shoe. So that thing should be clean and then deep in the disinfectant. That is the proper thing. Otherwise, many organic things will not be, that will prevent for inactivation of the virus. So that things we should very carefully see, and we must educate the farmers how to practically clean the thing. So in the organized farm, there should be a double layer of the fencing. It is important. And other precautionary measure. So for that, I think there should be some sort of design or the layout we should suggest to the organized farmer. What should be the scientifically designed this farm, so that no other, not only the African swine fever, other disease cannot enter to that. And here we tried one remote village to involve the community to construct a house with the low cost material, a floor, pakka floor with the easily available material that cost around 5,000 rupees, accommodating 5 animals, large and piglet 5 animals. So this type of approach, if we can make or modified little bit, I think that will be the best solution. If we bring all the animals to confinement, I think many disease we can reduce. And next is the cleaning and disinfection. So cleaning part, before going to the putting the disinfection, cleaning part should be performed in 2 to 3 steps. So there should be washing with the plain water, then rubbing with during this cleaning portion, all the movable things should be taken out from the farm premises. Then whatever the things present inside the farm, that should be rubbed with the brush or like this, so that many organic things should be removed. Then third step, they should again wash with the plain water, and fourth step with the with the detergent, and last step, they should go with the appropriate disinfectant. So that things if we follow for disinfection, apply after proper cleaning, proper cleaning should be very thorough. So disinfection, if we made in the proper concentration, allow to react for 30 minutes, whatever the time assigned, then you go for again vigorous washing with the forced water or sufficient water. That is the cleaning and disinfection. So that things if we go, and many times our farm official or officer, what we do, we provide the chemicals, everything, the farmers we allow to work them, but they do not understand what is the composition, how to mix up. So that is not effective. Top-down policy should not be there. There should be a participatory. Farmers, doctor, parapets should work together. That will give the confidence. And I think right this moment, Assam government, they should take this initiative, particularly veterinary department, because farmers, they lose more or less faith on the veterinary department. We are not doing anything. But at this disinfection, this part also, if we do together, that will give the moral boost to the farmers and they will be encouraged. And these are the composition. Important thing is that preparation of the solution. Suppose bleaching powder, the calcium hypochlorite, this bleaching powder concentration we should see. Concentration is 30 or 35%. So active, the chlorine concentration we should see. Accordingly, we should mix the 15 gram in 1 liter water. Then only proper percentage will be there. Bleaching solution, which is a 10% solution, 5% solution. If you do not mix it 1:5, it will not give the appropriate concentration. So these things should be looked into. Then only. So in our backyard system, these are the again things I am repeating. There should not be no waste feeding, no contact with the wild pig, no access to the animals or visitors, no fresh roughage from the wild area where wild animals are roaming, no bedding harvested from the wild area because wild population are roaming in that area, not sharing of equipment unless thoroughly clean, to buy pigs from the trusted locality, and also footwear and everything we should be thoroughly clean. Then only one should approach, and above all, our veterinarians should be thoroughly clean before entering to the premises and before leaving the premises. That precaution, footwear, headwear, or even the disposable PPE. If we do not use these things and we are entering the different farms, so we are in fact, heads and parapets, we are the major carrier of the virus from one farm to another farm. That biosecurity for the veterinary doctors and parapets important. And swine fever, which is causing a high mortality. So during the outbreak, this should be the approach. Find it first, call it quickly, stop its spread. So diagnosis, we are telling repeatedly like COVID, detect. So that diagnosis should be available at different level, and immediately we should call those animals which has not been done yet, more than 3 months over, and is the further spreading of the disease. These things we can mitigate. Actual intention of the containment of this disease will be fulfilled. So this is the overall situation. When we declared a zone, there will be a 1 kilometer area of infected zone and 10 kilometer will be the surveillance zone. In infected zone, there should be 100% culling, and surveillance zone should be regular monitoring, clinical and other laboratory. So that way, if we approach, definitely we can able to contain, and there should be a thorough auditing. What has been done in the farm, right from the beginning up to the end, everything is meet up or not. If that cross-checking is not there, actual meaning of the biosecurity will be lapsed in some way. So that things, if we see restart with the healthy stock is possible, and that farm will be viable if we follow this procedure, and we definitely can achieve the pig farming in a flourishing mode in the northeastern region. So set biosecurity as the priority and make your farm healthy. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Sir, speech report. We have a small felicitation program. So may I request Dr. Atul Barwan, Associate Director, Extensive Education, to felicitate Dr. Burman with the Purnam Gamsa. Next, we have a presentation by the Commissioner, Finance and Administrative Veterinary Department. Of his opinion, we would like to have his opinion by the Commissioner, Finance and Animal Husbandry and Veterinary Department, Mr. Sham Jagannathan, sir. Sir, are you online? I would like to request you to please unmute your phone. So may I request you to kindly unmute your phone. This is an appeal to Mr. Sham Jagannathan, Commissioner, Veterinary and Animal Husbandry and Finance, to kindly unmute your phone and give your opinion. Thank you, sir. Sir, are you online? Jagannathan, sir, are you online? If you are there, kindly unmute your phone. It seems that the Commissioner is not online, so we will move on to the next speaker. We have Dr. Swaraj Rajpur, the Director, National Research Center on Pigs, Rani. So I would like to request Dr. Swaraj to say a few words.
Good afternoon to everybody. Honorable Minister.
Sir, please unmute your phone.
Already I have unmuted. Am I audible? Am I audible? Am I audible?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. Yeah. The Honorable Minister Agriculture Veterinary of Assam, Honorable former Vice Chancellor of Assam Agriculture University, Dr. Buzarbura sir, and present Vice Chancellor Bhattacharjee sir, and Dean Faculty of Veterinary Science, Soike sir, and all other dignitaries who is present in the meeting. So at the outset, I congratulate the organizer for arranging a very important meeting, particularly this is a timely meeting, I can say. It is actually need of the hour. You all might be knowing, presently African swine fever is really creating a havoc, particularly for the pig farmers of not only for Assam, even in the Arunachal Pradesh. Even we do not know what is the present status of the disease. It might be occurring in also some of the neighboring states like Nagaland. We are not sure, but we are confirming only in Assam and Arunachal Pradesh. Already two presenters, my teachers, particularly Dr. Sharma sir and Bormon sir, they have nicely elaborated about the disease. But my concern is that we had such type of meeting earlier also, and many meetings we have conducted. It is very good that we can provide knowledge, particularly the veterinary, what is the actual status of the disease, or how the disease occurs, how it can be prevented. But the most important thing is that when African swine fever occurs, it is a very deadly disease and it spreads rapidly, even mortality goes even up to 100%. In such situation, definitely first and topmost priority will be how to prevent the spread of the disease to further new areas. Already, Dr. Buzarbura sir, he is a person who has enough knowledge, particularly in the piggery sector. So, particularly in this disease, I request particularly Bujabura sir that certain policy decisions should come which can really help the farmers. Scientific knowledge is okay, sharing of scientific knowledge and distributing scientific knowledge, that is okay, but certain decision at government level, particularly it should go from us so that disease can immediately be contained or some measures can be taken, because we have seen that disease has already occurred, more than 3 months has passed. So till also we are not in a position to take actual decision. So I request all the experts, definitely while discussing this in the meeting, particularly some of the policy decisions very important that can go, that can really be implemented. So I wish definitely this seminar, as it is many expert personnel are involved, definitely they will provide their valuable inputs, and I wish this seminar will be again success. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir. So I once again like to invite Dr. Mr. Shyam Jaganathan, Commissioner, Finance and Animal Husbandry and Veterinary Department. So please unmute your phone.
Good afternoon. Am I audible?
Yes, sir, you're audible. We can hear you, sir. Please
Yeah,
the video, sir. The video. Which one the video?
I presently am under quarantine, and I would like to speak off video only with the audio, if that is permissible by the esteemed members.
Okay, sir. Please go ahead, sir.
Thank you for the consideration. Honorable Atul Bora, sir, the Honorable Minister for Animal Husbandry and Veterinary, the former Vice Chancellor, respected Professor Bujabura, sir, Vice Chancellor, Assam Agriculture University, Professor Ashok Bhattacharjee, sir, the Director of NRCP, Dr. Suraj Rajkhwa, Dean, Assam Agriculture University, Dr. Vivekananda Saikia, Director Research, Dr. Niranjan Kalita, Professor Atul Borgohain, and speakers and professors Dilip Kumar Sharma and Professor N.N. Sharma. At the very outset, I am grateful for this kind opportunity provided to me to participate in this seminar, which is focused on the African swine fever. Speakers before me who are domain experts have specifically elaborated on the epidemiological aspects of the ASF and also the components of the action plan. The first step the government of Assam did was when there was a confirmation from Nishad, Bhopal, on the detection of ASF, was to immediately notify an expert advisory committee which comprised as the co-chairman Dr. Suraj Rajkhwa, the director in charge of the NRCP, the dean of the Veterinary Science College, Assam Agriculture University, and officials to suggest an action plan and containment plan and an IEC plan. Subsequent to that, there have been a notification on the 29th of May, which specifically has notified the outbreak of the African swine fever in Assam with 7 specific disease epicenters. And with that notification, we have put into place a preliminary standard operating protocol. The basic attributes mentioned out here was zonation, surveillance, culling, and the post-ASF management. For the zonation, the basic concept has been disease detection and notification as the formal epicenter 1 kilometer radius thereof. And the 1 kilometer radius is not strictly a circular radius. It will go through the human habitation spread. This has been declared as the containment zone. Now within the containment zone, the basic issue is that you have to stamp out the pig population. So culling is to be taken up in the containment zone. Subsequent to this 1 kilometer, there is a buffer zone, which is a spread of 1 kilometer from the epicenter, the containment, and from that radius, a further of 9 to 10 kilometers as the surveillance zone or the buffer zone. Now in the surveillance or the buffer zone, there is prohibition of sale of pork and all mandated advisories as issued by the Government of India in terms of refraining from the transportation or movement of pork or live pigs in this buffer zone. And the zonation as on date has not yet allowed free sale of pigs or transportation from outside the state, because as Professor Sharma was presenting on the socio-economic aspects, there is a substantial import of pork from states like Punjab. These have been restricted largely to ensure that there is no free sale of pork. The government is working very hard because there is a severe socio-economic impact on not allowing the sale of pork in unaffected areas which need to be zoned as green zones. Now the basic challenges before the state government are in this order. The first declaration of the African swine fever came at an extremely challenging circumstance wherein there was a global pandemic of COVID-19 and a lockdown. That meant that the institutional response of the machinery to commit resources and to undertake the immediate action plan for containment of African swine fever had an initial lag, which may be perceived as the inactivity, as was perhaps indicated by certain speakers. During this period, the notification has been issued on ground, the containment zones have been notified, and presently, on an everyday basis, we are fine-tuning the action plan, which has to be placed before a coordination committee. In the containment zone, when one takes over culling, no farmer is willing, or pig rearer is willing to, without due compensation, hand over the pigs for culling. Secondly, the culling has to be done in a scientific method with the least cruelty to the animal, and most importantly, disposal of the carcass has to be done in such a manner that it doesn't form basically a reserve for the virus to continue spreading. The second problem compounding the COVID-19 lockdown is the monsoons that has hit the state. As the water levels have risen in the river Brahmaputra and essentially the affected districts having large tracts of plains, the districts being Vishwanath, then your Lakhimpur, Sibsagar, Dhemaji, these essentially are extremely flood prone, and most of the pig rearing tracts, the villages are also flood prone. So one would have to plan post culling, if you are going to have flood zonation, where exactly would the carcass disposal have to be done. I am not saying that Government of India has not assisted, because only day before we have received the first go ahead of financial assistance on a 50-50 sharing basis for compensation for culling. This is 2 days before as we speak under a centrally sponsored scheme called the Assistance to the State for Control of Animal Diseases. Dr. Rajkhoa is aware, so also is Dr. Saikia aware. We have already designed a platform which presently is in the final stage of testing for the beta version for data collation in the containment zone for farmers, for their account numbers, for their complete details, so that the system of collection of the live pigs by the officials for culling and the gap between credit by direct benefit transfer to the account of the farmer is done in a gap of 3 banking days, so that the socio-economic impact, given the circumstances in which we presently are, is mitigated to the extent possible in the containment zone. Now, the culling operation is the first priority in terms of zonation. In the surveillance zone, we have brought in a testing and surveillance protocol where the base is of looking at 1% of the total pig population in terms of random samples, any unusual mortality in pigs being reported to be immediately tested, samples to be taken. Thirdly, as has been rightly said, Government of Assam has already banned the free scavenging or free rearing approach to pig rearing, and to contain the pigs. Of course, it is difficult to implement. It is difficult to implement if you understand the reach, the inability of manpower to frequently travel because of restrictions such as their own personal safety in terms of the COVID-19. So in such circumstances, we are basically taking this initiative forward. Now, I will not take much time, but in association with the Assam Agriculture University, I am proposing the 4 World Bank aided projects. There are 4 World Bank aided projects, that is the APART project, then there is the Assam Citizen Centric Services Delivery project, there is a World Bank transportation project under the Inland Water Transport Department, and a project which I had as project director in the finance department. Now, why I'm mentioning these externally aided projects is around 31 million is the net gains in terms of exchange rate fluctuation to these externally aided projects. This 31 million has already been 4 days back in a tripartite review meeting with the World Bank and the Government of India, Additional Secretary Mr. Samir Khare in the Department of Economic Affairs. It has been said and confirmed that part of this 31 million will also be taken up for the COVID response, and also for could I please request Mr. Kishore Sharma, if your audio could be muted. There is some disturbance. If no, the audio is still on, Sharma sir. Etio on ase. Kindly off kori dile webinar college or more matro kotha patibo paro. Eta resonance ahi ase. Thank you. Sorry for the interruption. Now, the basic input is that there would be savings out of these exchange rate fluctuations, which will be used for post ASF in the containment zone, surveillance zone, and also for converting using the APART project, which is already having intervention in the 13 districts in Assam for the pork value chain, for looking at progressively engaging farmers with low cost construction, as had been demonstrated, towards intensive pig rearing in confined sort of this thing, and weaning them away from the free scavenging. Of course, that would mean multiple interventions such as induction of exotic germplasm. As you said, 22% only is the exotic spread, 78 is the indigenous variety of doom. Assam Agriculture University, under the leadership of former Vice Chancellor Sir, has also proposed an initiative for setting up 12 farms which will act as nucleus and breeder farms for providing this kind of exotic germplasm to families and women self-help groups, basically taking over the economic activity of pig rearing to ensure sustainable incomes. Now, this is the matrix in which we are looking at largely the piggery sector, but with the ASF, containment zone, 100% culling, surveillance, sampling, testing, and as you said, the basic strategy of segregation, cleaning, disinfection is going to be applied. So cleaning, disinfection in the surveillance zone, and intensively cleaning and disinfection and testing in the market areas outside wherever sale of pork is there, to ensure that the disease is contained within the containment zone and has not spread. I thank you. I thank everybody for this very patient opportunity. I would request that the university, the NRCP, handhold us. Maybe in another 2 days, we shall be finalizing the action plan and the IEC component for the containment zone and the surveillance zone, which I will be discussing with the expert committee, and thereafter, probably by the 1st of July, we will be commencing culling after the formal announcement of that by the Honorable Minister. This is all I would like to submit. Over to the webmaster. Thank you.
Thank you, sir, for your wonderful views. I'm sure your views will be taken into account while formulating policies for fighting this dreaded disease, the African swine fever. So we come to the next phase of our program, that is the interactive phase. So we are keeping some time. I would like to repeat again, we're keeping some time for the interactive phase. I would like to request some of the participants, if they have any queries, we have experts out here who can allay your whatever you want to know. So I would like to request whoever wants to interact to kindly switch on or unmute the phone. Rest of the participants will keep their phone in mute form and they can ask questions. So we have here with us Dr. Niranjan Kolita, who will be helping us in this particular interactive session. So my request, people who are online, they can interact with experts that we have out here. So if you want to interact, please unmute your phone and put your questions. Thank you. It seems that there are nobody who would like to interact.
Sir,
Please go ahead. Kindly tell your name and where you belong. Please,
sir, good morning to all of you. Sir, myself, Dr. Ajay Kumar Yadav. I am from NRC MP. Am I able to? Sir.
Please switch on your camera.
Okay.
Go ahead.
Sir, my question is with Dr. Burman, sir, because in his presentation, sir has shown that Government of Assam has decided the 1 kilometer zone of infected zone in which all the animal has to be culled, and 10 kilometer is the surveillance zone in which we have to monitor the animal. Right, sir? And now my question is, sir, as per the FAO and the OIE, the infected zone is around 10 kilometer in which we have to cull all the infected 10 kilometer in which we have to cull all the animal, and apart from the 10 kilometer is the surveillance zone. So how the government of Assam has decided at what basis the 1 kilometer is only an infected zone, because 1 kilometer is a very less area. Thank you, sir.
So thank you for your question. According to the OI protocol, the government of India gave us some guidelines, and along with the state government of Assam, the places where the infection is taking place, we have selected the places. There are 1 kilometer is infected zone, and 10 kilometer is surveillance zone, and after 10 kilometer there will be 1 or 2 kilometer will be the buffer zone. On that basis, a detection and culling could take place. That is the protocol which is given from Government of India, and it is in relation with the OIE protocol. Thank you.
Hello.
Yes, hello.
Just a minute, I want to add here. Here, why this variation is there 1 kilometer and 10 kilometer? That is also distribution of the peak. And again, the national geographical situation. These are the forest area. There are already natural barrier. So again, the peak density and natural barrier, considering this National Action Committee also decided should be restricted to 1 kilometer and 10 kilometers. That is the idea.
Hello.
Hello.
I suppose you
Sir, one more question, sir. I want to ask one more question, sir.
can we move on to the next one, please? Because we have very short time. We would like to give other people of the opportunity. So I would like to request the next one to give a question. Okay.
Okay, sir.
Hello.
Yes.
Hello.
Sir.
Yes. Please identify yourself and switch on
Hello.
the video.
Hello, sir. Hello.
Okay,
Hello.
then we are moving on to the next program because we are very shortage of time. We have kept some time for the interactive session, but due to lack of time, we are skipping that session. We are moving to the next session. So we have with us the former Vice Chancellor of Assam Agricultural University, Dr. K.M. Bhujogar sir, an eminent scientist who has been working a lot on this, not at the state level also, but he was the former DDG of Indian Council of Agricultural Research. He has a very sound knowledge on the livestock sector in this country. So may I invite Dr. K.M. Bhujogar to kindly conclude this session with his views. Thank you.
Thank you. It has been a highly educative session, particularly the two presentations by Dr. Sharma and also by Dr. Verma. They were so very good that I think a lot of clarity has been brought into those two presentations. Then the inputs provided by Sri Syam Jagannathan were so very good. I really liked it because he is at the helm of affair at the department level, and he had given some concrete suggestions on how to take advantage of the four projects, the apart and all that, and the kind of policies that they are making. I think all those things will be very good. He is very much, that means the department is very much into it, containing the disease. Now, the whole thing is, this presentation, which has been in English language, is not for those pig farmers who are actually to be guided as to what are the awareness programs and all that. Yeah. So therefore, what I suggest, I think you can ask for a slot in the electronic media, and the TV channel and all that. You can ask for a slot at 7:45 also for half an hour, and tell it for the benefit of the farmers in Assamese language, benefit of the veterinarians all over, because they may not be participating, so that everybody knows now what are the biosecurity level measures to be taken to contain the disease within a particular zone. I think that will be very, very spread. Awareness has been talked about by Dr. Bormann, but awareness will not be generated from this room alone or through this video conferencing. So that's why we have to find ways as to how we can reach wider section particularly the big farmers, big growers, so that because it is they who have to know what to do, what are the precautionary measures to be taken, and all that. This is one part. The second part is, what are the lessons which have been learned from this disease? Like, the COVID-19, it had impacted the economy, it had impacted the society, but it also had brought out certain opportunities. Now, similarly, African swine fever, what sort of opportunities it might have brought to the scientists and the teachers involved. That has to be seen. One of the opportunities what I feel, because now the disease is reported next year after next, it might be there. So we cannot be, satisfied by saying that take these precautionary measures, because all these precautionary measures also might not prevent the entry of the disease. As a scientist, what are the things that you can do? One, definitely try very hard to develop a vaccine. Second, try to identify, supposing in a disease area or a farm, if one or two pigs have survived the onslaught of the disease, we can reasonably say that maybe that particular one or two somewhere might be carrying some resistant genes. So therefore, all biotechnological research to find out the resistant genes, if any, in the population that we have, including the wild pig, that has to be seen. And if we feel that yes, one might be carrying that resistant gene against African swine fever, that gene has to be targeted through the process of mining the alleles, finding out the candidate gene actually responsible for the resistance. Then also, because 2-3 way different research works will have to be done to finally come up with a solution. Like, you see COVID-19. World is today engaged in finding or preparing or developing a vaccine. Different countries are trying. And it is likely that by October, November, a vaccine might also come up. Now, similarly, now we have known that so many people in northeastern region, including the state of Assam, are engaged in piggery sector, as has been told by Dr. Verma. It is one of the livelihood means for many farmers. So we cannot ignore this means, and therefore all sorts of possibilities we will have to explore together, because in stamping operation, giving compensation, these are immediate things which will have to, but we have to find a permanent solution. That has to be kept in mind, I think. And this has been a very good presentation. I must thank all the presenters, the participants, both participants in online discussion, because they have all given some inputs, viable inputs. A complete team has to be, formed. It is already formed. There are expert groups, but other groups have also to be roped in. Particularly, some of the, very intelligent pig farmers are there, young intelligent pig farmers. They are suffering. And what kind of solution they take, they are also to be taken into the fold. And finally, a roadmap way ahead will have to be prepared. Thank you very much for inviting me.
Thank you, sir, for your valuable inputs. So, ladies and gentlemen, we come to the end of this webinar. So, before we end this program, I would like to convey our sincere thanks to the Minister, Animal Husbandry and Veterinary, Sri Arun Bora Deo, who, though he is not present out here, but he has been instrumental in helping us in convening this particular webinar, and he has sent his regards for the success of this particular webinar. I would like to thank Dr. K.M. Buzurwar, sir, who has always been with us, and today also he has come all the way to be with us so that he can hear and also give his views. Thank you, sir, so much. I would like to thank the Vice Chancellor, Assam Agricultural University, who has joined us who has joined online for his valuable thoughts. Sir, thank you so much. So I would like to thank Mr. Shyam Jagannathan, Commissioner, Finance and Animal Husbandry and Veterinary Department, who has always taken keen interest in the activities of the Animal Husbandry and Veterinary Department. Sir, we are really grateful to you, and we have seen the movements with the State Department has seen under your stewardship. Thank you, sir. I would like to thank the speakers who were out here, that is Dr. Dilip Sharma sir and Dr. Nagendra Nath Burman sir, who have given a wonderful presentation. I would also like to thank Dr. Swaraj Rajkua, who has joined us online. I would like to thank all the participants who have joined us online and patiently heard us in this particular webinar. Thank you. I would like so thank you all the participants. Then I would like to thank all the people who have been helping us in organizing this webinar so successfully. I would also like to thank the in-charge aegis cell, Mr. Dipanan Basumatari of aegis cell, for his help in organizing this particular webinar. We were supported logistically by the ALDME group in organizing this particular seminar. So I thank the ALDME group for their kind support. So with this, we come to the end of this webinar. Thank you.